Today on the Broadway Shuffle, why you should be excited about the future of Texas Tech football and what to expect as Big 12 basketball play gets started. That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. All right, episode 39 of the Broadway Shuffle. We've got the home team here, Zyler, Clayton, and Conrad. I'm Brennan. Welcome to the show. We hope all of you had a Merry Christmas and are looking forward to a Happy New Year. Unfortunately, we were not able to celebrate a Texas Tech football bowl win, so we got some coal in our stocking when it comes to hoping Texas Tech football would deliver us a Christmas present. But nonetheless, a lot to get into about football and what that game really what took place in the Liberty Bowl and the disappointment of the loss, but also why you should be excited about some of the guys you saw on the field. Clayton, want to come to you first, man. We haven't had you on the show in a while. You had a little stomach bug, I guess, that you had to miss out for. Are you doing better? I think a lot of the shufflers are concerned about your health. How you feeling?
Yeah, thank you guys for asking about me. I'm sure everyone was concerned. I'm doing a lot better. I was on my deathbed last week, though.
Yeah, man, that's tough. We missed you, but we're glad to have you back. Conrad, there's one thing I think before we get in the show, I'm noticing something behind you. If you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening on Spotify and Apple, Conrad's nickname was gifted to him this year by the Colorado Buffaloes faithful. Pillsbury Doughboy. And I think I'm seeing one of those things behind you. Is that what you got behind you?
Yeah, I got one for Christmas, and I just decided, being given that nickname by our Colorado friends over there in Boulder or wherever they may be, because they didn't actually go to Colorado. They gave me a nickname called the Pillsbury Doughboy, and so just thought, got a little ornament, I guess you could say, for Christmas from my brother, who thought that was a funny nickname, and so wanted to put that up there so that all our faithful listeners who like this video and subscribe to the channel can see Mr. Pillsbury back there until we stop this podcast, which will be never. So you'll see that Pillsbury Doughboy there for a very, very long time. So enjoy that, and I'll always have that as a reminder of how the Colorado Buffaloes came after me, and also just came after us as well as a whole. That's crazy how that was, over a month ago. Isn't that wild, guys?
That was a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Lots has happened.
So our show was nice and small.
Yes, a lot has happened since then. We hope all of you had a Merry Christmas, and thank you for checking out our show. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel at the Broadway Shuffle, and you can listen on Spotify and Apple as well. So, all right, Z, I'm going to come to you first regarding the Texas Tech loss to Arkansas. Some overall thoughts you had on the game, and then maybe some players that you were excited about seeing. I think you say it best. You said this game means everything if you win, means nothing if you lose. So why don't you go into your thoughts on the loss to Arkansas?
Yeah, it's, as Michael Scott said, it's a win-win-win. We got to see some young players shine. I was right in that this game didn't matter because you lost. And yeah, it was just really, ultimately, if you looked at this bowl game as a glorified scrimmage or exhibition, I think you come away happy as a Tech fan, despite losing. I think the score was also a bit misleading as to how close the game actually was. You got it back within 2 points and they reeled off a bunch, so maybe that looks a little bit worse, but you were able to drive the ball in Arkansas pretty effectively, and using what any sort of Tech fan who watched this season would describe as a very vanilla playbook. We weren't running anything exotic. You had a brand new play caller who's never called plays, Juice Johnson. It was fine. I thought there were some young guys that flashed, specifically Jacob Ponton. I thought he was really, really good for you. I didn't notice him really at all game. I think the PFF grades came out and he was like mid-60s, which is pretty good. That's like a very decent and serviceable grade if you're into PFF. And for a true freshman making his first start, that's really good against an SEC team. That was really impressive for me. Jacoby and Cameron Dickey were also excellent. I thought you're going to be just fine in the backfield next year. Now, I do think you noticed you missed Taj on short yardage downs. When you need 1 to 2 yards or, a tough 3 yards, that was really nice to be able to hand it to him. And then Will Hammond, I thought he was fine. That interception was a really weird coverage. The one that was kind of at the end of the game that ended up hurting you quite a bit. That was a weird, exotic coverage, and that guy just kind of popped over. I don't really blame him for that. Thought it was the right read, and Arkansas player made a great play. Once again, though, that was a pretty vanilla playbook. I don't really think they were asking him to do a whole ton, and I thought he delivered. He's got arm talent. He's got mobility. I wish he would have run a bit more, but that's going to be, time in the weight room, add 15 pounds this offseason, then feel a little bit more confident there. Those were my kind of general takeaways. I wasn't disappointed. I won't think about this loss. I was excited with some of the younger guys. And one other player I wanted to mention was Jordan Sanford. We slid him in at corner after Macho Stevenson kind of had his turn. And Sanford ended up being really good for you. I wish we would have been playing him more there this year. Turned in from the PFF grades, one of the best cornerback performances you've had all year. So that gives the coaches something really exciting to work with in the future. I know you've brought in some cornerbacks and some defensive backs, but don't forget about him. He's going to push. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore next year, and I'd love to see him take over and man one of those other cornerback spots. So, any other thoughts from you guys?
Clay?
Yeah, I thought Zyler hit pretty much everything. Jacoby was electric. I can't wait to see him as like a featured back next year. Hopefully one of either him, Dickey, or Quentin Joyner can turn into the short yardage guy, because we definitely did struggle on those plays, although I think part of that was also the play calling there, not having Kitley. I thought it was pretty bad, excuse me, in short yardage situations. But yeah, overall, I came out pretty happy. I wasn't like blown away with Hammond, but I also don't think he did anything bad. And I mean, playing with first-time play caller, you're missing your wide receiver one, your left tackle, your running back. Like, I feel like he did as much as I, expected him to going into the game. So overall, yeah, pretty pleased with the performance. And I thought Zyler studied it well, that like, if you just treat this as an exhibition, kind of like another spring game, I feel like there's a lot to be excited about for next season.
Yeah, Conrad, it was interesting seeing some Red Raider faithful. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to call it like overblowing the loss, but there was definitely a lot of frustrated fans across the tech media landscape, we'll call it. Any reason to kind of overreact to a bowl loss like that? Or do you just feel like, you should just kind of look at it like Clayton and Zyler mentioned, more of an exposition type spring game situation?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying I think it's totally okay to be a little bit bummed that we didn't win. Like, that's okay. I think you should care about winning every single time you step out there, even if it is a situation like this, with it being basically an exhibition game. I mean, I was personally bummed, even with all of the facts that Clayton and Zyler just said. Yeah, I mean, we were missing a lot. Arkansas was missing a lot, but you still want to win the game. You don't just go out there to just get reps. I don't think that was Joey's mindset, or any of the players that played in the game. I don't think that was their mindset. So as a fan, I think it's totally warranted to be a little bit bummed, but I think you have to be calculated about how you look at things, right? You don't need to act like the sky is falling because you lost a bowl game without Taj Brooks, Josh Kelly, Baron Morton, and a plethora of other players to an SEC team that's, I mean, in a lot of ways bigger and faster than you. So I'm not upset about it. I'm just a little bit bummed. I don't think it's warranted at all. I mean, I saw some people saying Joey has to go 10-2 next year. He's fired. That is just completely. I don't even want to give airtime to that on this show, because that's just so dumb of a thought to say that kind of thing, because that's just not true. This program is going in a fantastic direction. Yes, it would have been a lot better if your record was 9-4 going into the offseason than 8-5. But again, like Zyler mentioned, you did have Ponton, you did have Jacoby, you did have Cam, you did have Samford. You just had some guys that really flashed. So if you're upset about this game and you're listening to this podcast, I think that's a little bit overblowing things, in my opinion. You can feel free to disagree in the comments, and we welcome your opinions here on the Broadway Shuffle. But at the same time, do realize what you're looking at. Now, next year, assuming you have more players playing in the bowl game that played for you all year, you have complete warrant to be frustrated if you lose by a lot, which, to a team, if you have everyone and they have everyone. But this year you didn't win. It stinks you didn't win, but at the same time, you've got a lot to look forward to next year.
Yeah, there's really, in my opinion, no reason to stress about how you lost this game. I think the defense was kind of a microcosm of, the whole season. Like, guys looked lost. I don't know why we should have expected this team to improve significantly without their defensive coordinator who was fired,
Yeah.
with a lot of guys out. It's not like they were a good unit before. The middle of the field was completely open. I think what was it? They're averaging like 29.8 yards per play in like 8 plays to start the game.
Yep.
It's 21-3 early. And then you've got no offensive coordinator. You don't have Taj and Will, who I know we're all excited about him. And I speak for that too, that I'm very excited about the future of Will Hammond, but it's not necessarily like the guy has had a ton of reps and was able to showcase all season that we should expect him to go out there and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, though I would have liked to see it. I think it's ultimately good that Will Hammond actually did not go bonkers this game, because had he done something crazy and you won, 45-39 or something, I think the conversation into the spring could have caused some sort of controversy that would have been tough for the team potentially. So I think all in all, this was probably good for you. You got some young guys, some reps. You got to see the excitement of what a Jacoby Williams, a Jacob Ponton, a Cameron Dickey, even a Will Hammond, and then some guys like Kelby Vaslin and other guys too that will be on your roster and be contributing for you in 2025 and beyond. So I don't see the need to worry about this one. If anything, I was excited. I was on a plane ride back home, and I was like, I could care less. I was loving the fact that Arkansas was scoring every 5 seconds because I just wanted to see the offense. I was like, yeah, give me more Jacoby, give me more Ponton, give me more Will. Like, give us the ball. Let's see what we can do, because the defense to me was not really a focal point, of this game whatsoever. Lux wasn't playing. Baskerville, as we'll get to in a second, had a tough game and got stomped on, and there was a lot. Ben Roberts in the middle of the field looked a little miscalculated on some coverage, to put it mildly. There was just a lot going on that the defense just looked lost. So I think as a Red Raider fan, we should be more optimistic about what we saw out of the youth comparatively to being like, oh man, this, that game means nothing for what you did in 2024 and what you could do in 2025. So, and Z, you have the EPA of the game. Do you have that pulled up? I mean, I know you even think this was actually closer than it might have looked on TV.
Yeah, and you don't want to take too much from advanced analytics and let them tell you a story that didn't actually happen. But if you look at just EPA per play, I mean, you were both right there. You were in the 64th percentile at 0.1 points per play, and they were at 0.11. You were. And you realize this when you watch the game, like we were able to move the ball pretty effectively. You had some 3 and outs, you had some tough drives, but you had that 4th down stop that they got down in the goal line. If that ends up being a touchdown, this game looks a lot different. You were able to move the ball very effectively, just like they were able to move the ball very effectively. I mean, 14.83 yards per drop back for Arkansas is crazy. Like every time they dropped back to pass, they were getting basically 15 yards. I don't even know why they tried to run the ball. They were in the 17th percentile there. The other thing, this is the big one, and this is what killed your defense all year, and McGuire talked about it. You just had a really hard time communicating your calls to the entire defense. You kept seeing stuff where one side of the field thought we were in man and the other side thought we were in zone. Maybe it was cover 2, cover 3. Somebody was getting misaligned. Their EPA without explosive plays was -30. Yours was -15, but if you take out those explosive plays, now obviously they happened, you can't just remove that. Then they still may have scored in a slow, methodical drive, but their offense really wasn't effective. You were able to completely stop the run. They were not able to really do anything with that outside of, maybe a couple chunk explosive plays. Your defense played fine outside of the explosives, but unfortunately you gave up a ton of them. And Braylon Lux being out, that obviously is a big blow for you. He was probably your best corner. I thought Horn did a good job, but Macho struggled a little bit on the other side. And then I thought Sanford did fine once you got out there. But yeah, if you're not familiar with this is game on paper. Their data isn't always 100% accurate, so you got to make sure that you check certain items and make sure that you're looking at the right stuff. But then again, the turnover luck here, -5 points cost you there. That interception down in the red zone really hurt you. You were only expected to have 0.4 turnovers. So yeah, bummer. Also, I don't remember the last time I watched a game where both teams had a safety. That was kind of cool. Don't remember the last time that we saw that. But yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff here. Jacoby Williams was clearly the best back in the game. His EPA per play was almost 0.4. He is electric, going to be a really, really good player for you. And I thought Cameron Dickey, one other thing that I want to mention on him, you could tell he wasn't quite 100%. I thought he didn't quite have that burst that he had kind of earlier in the year, but still looked good. I think he can be that shorter yardage back for you. He just needs to put on a few more pounds, make himself a little bit harder to bring down. But I was encouraged by what I saw from all of your young skill players out there.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting seeing how the running back room looks next year with Jacoby and Cameron, and then you've got Joyner coming in from
Quentin
USC.
Joyner.
So I'm excited to see if one of them kind of takes the reins more in spring and summer, and you have a clear defined number one, or if you do kind of see a joint committee type backfield, which would be interesting. I think there's a lot of excitement. Jacoby's burst is clearly there. He's clearly probably, I mean, at least now one of the fastest players, if not the fastest on your team. I mean,
Yep.
what he's able to do. And so that's really exciting when you're looking at the potential of what the backfield can do in 2025. And as well, looking at some of the receivers that you'll have coming in, and then hopefully a healthy Baron Morton. So that'll be exciting as well. In regards to how you look back at this season, Clayton, I know we're going to get into a full season review, and we'll give out some season grades and rewards, and that'll be coming up here in the next week or two. But if you just had to assess coming off the loss, it's fresh. What, do you look back on this season? Ultimately, you've lost the coordinators. You were able to have a quarterback for 12 games. You lost a bowl game, but you had Todd Brooks and break a rushing record. Like, so many different things happened this year for Texas Tech. How do you assess the season overall, just freshly off of the loss?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the loss stings, but I feel like you have to view it as a success. First 8-win season first 8-win regular season since 2009. Your defense was pretty bad all year, and you were still able to overcome that. I saw someone on Twitter say that, this Tech team is probably an underdog to the last two Tech teams that they played on a neutral field, which, I think I agree with, outside of some QB health situations. But knowing all that, and you were still able to win 8 games, you beat both conference championship contenders. So yeah, I feel like you have to view it as a success. And I'm glad that we got a taste of, like, looking back on the TCU game and being frustrated, like, you just take care of business there and you're in the conference championship. Now the players coming back from this season know what that feels like, and hopefully next year, obviously you're going to lose some games, but hopefully you don't put yourself in that same situation. Figure out how to close games out. I feel like we talked about that a lot at the beginning of this year, was like the lack of the killer instinct. So I hope that that's something that this team can develop going into next year. Just the ability to close teams out and blow some teams out whenever you get up 2 or 3 scores. But overall, to answer your question, I feel like you have to look at this season as a success.
Yep. Conrad, you were the Kool-Aid man all year long, CEO of the Kool-Aid Factory, hype man for Texas Tech athletics, and insert nickname here. I feel like you're the only guy with a nickname on the show so far, but we'll get that changed here at some point, I'm sure. Feel free to comment nicknames for Clayton, Zyler, and I if you guys want to. We'd be happy to adjust. But Conrad, overall hype for Texas Tech football heading in. We had the portal. I completely needed to mention what happened in the portal before the bowl game and all that. Lots of optimism heading into 2025.
Yeah, when you look back at this season, you have to consider, everything that happened in the offseason, right? With, expecting Micah Hudson to come in and be, Michael Crabtree reincarnated, and, this all that you were just hoping to have a quarterback stay healthy, and, you were young on defense, and so you weren't really sure how you were going to perform there. And so you look at all those things, and now that we're sitting here in late December, almost in 2025, and you look at the body of work as a whole, I think you really have to be pleased. I am, to be honest. I mean, this is not a team, looking at everything we saw, that I would have necessarily thought you win 8 games, but hey, you found a way to win. You fought to win. That's something that McGuire has instilled in this program, and I think that only bodes well for the future, because people they really do forget how bad of a shape this program was in before Joey got here. They just really don't think about that very often. Now, why would we? We don't want to think about that, because it's kind of depressing when you consider where our conference opponents are or were in terms of where they were in terms of their program health compared to Texas Tech. But when you look at things now and where Joey has brought things, you have to feel really,
Coach
really
McGuire.
good about the program as a whole. Or Coach McGuire.
We're
We're going to keep switching back and forth. Yeah. We'll ask Coach McGuire what he wants us to call him when we have him on the show. But it's interesting when you look at all those things and you think about, okay, look at what happen year 1, year 2, year 3, and you just have to really think about, okay, we're making progress. That was my word for the season midway through, and I really still do believe that you're making progress. You had a quarterback stay healthy for 12 games for the first time since 2016. You had a quarterback who played really, really well. It's probably your best quarterback since Patrick Mahomes. You had some other players. You had Taj break the rushing record. You had Josh Kelly. You had all these things. And then just to put the cherry on top of all of it, you have an organization, a collective like the Matador Club come in and put up the funds to go do what you did in the portal, which is the last time you're going to be able to do it because revenue sharing kicks in and really sets you up for a 2025 season that I think is really going to be special. And I'm not just blowing smoke there. That's not just CEO of the Kool-Aid Factory talk. I mean, that is just what we're going to see based on the talent you have on this roster at this point. You have so much that you haven't had in a long time. Now it has to all come together. It has to all work out. But the thing is, you do have a pile of ingredients that, if orchestrated the correct way by Coach Wood and Coach Leftwich and Coach McGuire, could lead you to a place you've never been before, which is Arlington, Texas, playing for the Big 12 championship and potentially the playoffs. So just to sum everything up, I'm really optimistic about this team, this program, where it's going. And I think the brightest days of Texas Tech football, in my opinion, are ahead.
Z, one word to describe the 2024 season.
I guess I'm going to use a hyphen. Overachieved. I
like
want
it.
And I have a question after you guys give your words. So.
Oh no, that's just a question for you, man.
Oh, that's a solo question for me.
That's a solo question for you. You get
and
it.
I'm going to launch into my monologue.
Launch, baby. Yeah.
Okay, so when I think back a little bit on this season, when I think about the 22 team and the 23 team, I think all of them would have been favored over this team on a neutral field. Like, I think the 22 team and the 23 team were both better than this 8-win team, even though your record was better this year. I don't think this team was better than 22 or 23, which, from a pessimistic point of view, that's concerning. You don't want to see the trend go here, here, here. And so that's really, to Conrad's point, what I want to see, and I need to see from McGuire and co. is, you found a way to win games, which is great. What they say is, first you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, and then you win big. You got to learn how to do all 4 of those. And so I hope that our winning close this year was kind of an aberration that you will launch into next year and not just win more games, but be a much better team. That was the frustrating thing for me this year. I think you saw a little bit of lack of development on my end, and it really was just on the defensive side of the ball. You were not expecting this unit to be like, bottom 20 in the country. That was never on my bingo card. So I think that maybe hurts you a lot more than, maybe what you're expecting. And I just don't know why that really happened. Actually, I'll take that back. I know why that happened. Your defense was incredibly young. On average next year, I expect your defense to be 2.5 to 3 years older at pretty much every position than what you had this year. That is going to make your defense significantly better. I will, a lot of people have griped, and I've even questioned this, like, what's going on in our strength and conditioning program? Why do we always look smaller than everybody? I remember at the ACU game, I was like, if you just took the jersey colors and numbers off, I don't think I would know which team was which. And that's a problem when you go up against an FCS opponent. I think part of that is you were playing a lot of 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds versus 23 and 24-year-olds. That's a big difference. And so I think you're going to look a lot bigger next year. You should be. You've added a ton of size. So those are kind of the things, I don't want to preview 2025. I want to be a better team next year. I want to feel like, that wasn't a fluke. We didn't fluke our way into that win. We went in there and kicked we whipped you. That's what I want to see happen next year. I didn't really feel like, outside of the West Virginia game, that you really just took it to somebody. It felt like you were always scratching and clawing to try to find a way to keep it close or win. And so that's where I would be disappointed. But conversely, that's why I think you overachieved, because I don't necessarily think this was an 8-win team. I thought this team is probably worse than what their record indicated. And when I do my 2025 previews, I think the second order wins are going to show that. I think this was probably like a 6-win team. So
yeah, and we had before on our season preview show about 6.5 to 7 wins was kind of all of our predictions when you went into what we would expect from the season. I don't think we expected the road success that we necessarily had, but we did not expect 9-3 by any means, unless maybe Clayton. Did you?
We
Clayton,
did as a group
was
say
the group
9-3.
was the group not?
Yeah.
Okay, I think maybe we did a positive.
I had 7 wins. I know for a fact.
I think I had 7 wins as well.
I think you had 8, but we'll have to pull the tape. We'll have to check.
We'll pull it up. We'll pull it up. But we'll see. We will do a season. The season in review episode will include where we were right and where we were wrong. And in case you're curious, we were all wrong on the bowl result. All of us thought that we would get a win. Z thought it'd be fairly low scoring, and I think
it was so wrong.
I thought that Tech would go off offensively, and we were all wrong. So we're not always right on the Broadway Shuffle, but we own it when we are wrong, and we do boast when we're right. So well, there's a lot to get into about that, but what were you going to say, Conrad?
Real quick, I think one thing I want to say, just to Zyler's point of the fact that you found a way to win close games and you clawed your way to a lot of the victories. I mean, you think about Iowa State specifically. You clawed your way to that win. And I think, you can say a lot of different things. A lot of people, and rightfully so in some instances, not all, but they would question Kitley's situational play calling. Kitley was a fantastic offensive coordinator for you. Hope he goes and does great things. He made some situational play calls that we were all kind of like, I didn't really get that. Then on the flip side, you had Coach DeRuiter, who, he's a good coach, a great guy. Obviously, things did not work out for you on the defense side of the ball. You have to change something when you finish as low as you did in defense. But as a whole, and you look at Joey and Coach McGuire and what's been done there from a culture standpoint at Texas Tech, again, I think I've said it before, I'll say it again. What Joey has done for this program is something that Cliff, Wells, and Tuberville were not able to do. And that has absolutely changed the culture to where you fight for everything you get. And that's what they did this season. That's what they did time and time again. Sure, we weren't very good on defense, but I don't think that's because there was no effort. I think that's because of a lot of other things. I think they fought. I think they played hard, and, it just didn't work out. And that's why we have Coach Wood now. But in terms of what Joey has done for the program and the culture, the reason we fight, the reason we overachieved was because of the culture that's here at Texas Tech now. And I think that plays a big factor. And I don't want us to overlook what he's done for the trajectory of your program and where it's going to go from here. So just want to say that because I do think that's a large component to why we did over, as others said.
So devil's advocate. I mean, why did the culture not prevent us from getting the brakes beat off of us against Baylor or like melting down against TCU?
Yeah, you're not going to be perfect in terms of every single game. The culture is not going to save you from everything. But I don't even think that Arizona State or that Iowa State win, or obviously you did fall apart against TCU and you didn't even show up against Baylor. The culture is never going to be perfect. But I think those games against maybe Arizona State, against Cincinnati, against Iowa State, just in particular, I don't even know that those things have I mean, sure, they're possible. I just don't think I think the likelihood of those games happening with the previous regimes was not very high, in my opinion. I could be wrong though.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 things. One, I think throughout the year, all of us would be like, you wouldn't win that game under Wells. Like, I think Z, I remember you saying there's no way you win this game under Matt Wells. So there's that side of it too. My counter to the culture thing is I think culture is great and you need to have it, but how much does it really matter now in today's college football is a fair question to ask. Like, is Lee Hunter a culture guy, or is he a 6'4", 330 defensive tackle that you just need on your team? Like, is he, is it culture that's going to build your football program long term? I don't know the answer. It just seems right now like, does Oregon have a great culture? Does Texas have a great culture, or do they have the best players on their team? And is that equal to culture? I don't know. Like, I understand what you're saying. I just don't know in today's iteration of where college football is at. Is it just about paying the dudes you have that are just going to show up on Saturday, or building a long-term program? If culture is 7-5, 8-4 every year, like, I'd rather take the 10-2 Miami. I don't know. It's an interesting counter. I'm not saying right or wrong. It's just something that you have to ask yourself now.
Well, let's just take an example very close to home for us. You had a 5-star plus freshman wide receiver that came into Texas Tech and did not fit your culture. He did not contribute, and he, by all accounts, did not do what what he thought he was going to do. And at the end, there was a lot of reconciliation that would have taken place if he were to return, because a lot of bridges were broken and burned. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't show up and work hard every day, and if you don't have a good attitude and you don't buy into what things are happening, you're not going to work. I don't care where it is. And so, yeah, you could use a player like Lee Hunter or Reggie Virgil or any of these guys coming in. If they don't love Texas Tech, and if they don't buy into what the coaching staff has created here, it's not going to work. I mean, I'll be the first to say it. If they don't buy into Texas Tech at all, you may go 6-6 next year. A perfect example of this: Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just take them for example. They have a fantastic culture, and they have the best player in the world, and they have other really good players around them. But every NFL team has really good players. Sure, they have better than the others in a lot of positions, but the reality is you still have a team that by all accounts is incredibly together, is extremely successful, and has won 3 championships. And so you have something there in the culture and how they love each other and how they practice, how they work, that matters a lot. And so if you're just going to say, oh, we're just going to go buy these guys, I mean, I don't think that's a part of it, but I don't think that's all of it. So I think
that's exactly what you did. I think you went and bought those guys.
That's what you just did, though.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what you did. But I'm saying if you don't have it, if they don't buy in, it's not going to work. I'll be the first person to say if they don't buy in.
I agree there.
It will be, we could very well, I mean, if these guys don't work out, we may be sitting here this time next year talking about how he missed a bowl game. I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so too.
So, and I don't think they would have taken those guys if they didn't believe that they were going to buy in. I really,
Clayton, chime in here. Clayton, chime in.
No, I think what both of y'all are saying is correct. I mean, I get Brennan's point that, like, how much does culture matter right now whenever, you can just literally go buy Lee Hunter and say, hey, come play for us.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, you could say that it matters now more than ever if you're going to have, an entire new team every single year. That's why you pay, like, Dan Lanning to be able to get those guys to mesh and turn into a great team. So I think, I don't know, the answer probably falls somewhere in the middle, but
and I don't know the right answer. I was just kind of presenting it as how much does it matter now? Because Joey talks about culture, he talks about the promotion. He's done great at that. He's done a fantastic job at that so far, and we've said that he's elevated your floor. But at some point, especially next year, with what you did go buy, if you can't bring these guys together and what you're supposed to be really good at, and you do go 6-6, 7-5, I'm not jumping on the Joey has to go 10-2 bandwagon. But if you don't compete, to Z's point, if you're not whipping some people out there, especially your Kent States and Oregon States and teams you should beat, and you're not beating them next year, that to me is a little concerning. The culture only goes so far. Eventually, you've got to start just beating dudes on the field.
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add is one thing next year that we have to see is, like, Joey's teams have gotten better as the year goes on every single year, but all 3 years we look really bad right out of the gates. And
100%.
Yeah. And with the talent that we have coming in, that cannot happen next year. And I know we don't play a team of like Oregon's or NC State's or even Washington State's caliber.
We have Oregon State next year.
Yeah,
they have Malik Murphy.
That's true.
So if you lose to Oregon State, this place is going to be unconsolable. I mean, it's going to be a disaster.
It will be.
Well, we got 8 months to get there, Z.
I'm not even going to let myself
so anyway,
think about that.
This is my final point. The way that I always try to frame my review of Tech season is if TCU had this season, how would I write about it? It's like if TCU had this season, I would say they were so incredibly lucky to win all those one-score games. And when it's Tech, I'm like, well, it's a culture thing. We just found a way to win, and we were gritty and did it. And it's like, I've got to make sure that I try to like ease some of the subjectivity out of how I frame certain things. And I know that I think all of your points are valid. I want to see us be a better team next year. That's really ultimately my point. Be better. Be an actual good team. I don't think you were really that good this year.
I don't either. When we were watching each game, I was like, I don't know how you win that game. It felt like the basketball team of last year in a way where it's like you just kind of I think overachieved, just a great word. You found a way in certain games, but it never looked pretty. You never outside of West Virginia, you did not sustain a 4-quarter victory, or even that matter like a loss to TCU or Baylor or Washington State, where you felt good about what you were watching. And even the Abilene Christian win, how the season started, you were like, oh boy, that didn't.
How lucky was that?
So even Abilene Christian didn't start well. So that was kind of why the Arkansas game to me was a microcosm of what we watched the first 12 games. And but there's a lot that we're going to have to discuss and get into for 2025 as well. And I think overachieving 2024, great. You better not underachieve in 2025. That better not be the word we're using, unless you were going 11-1 or playing or winning the Big 12 title in 2025. But that might not even be overachieving, because that is now the set expectation. So one thing I want to get into that we are needing to discuss is a certain Arkansas football player. This got released after the game. I didn't notice this during the game. Did you guys notice Mr. Carbonara? I know his name's not Carbonara, but it kind of looks like it when you read it. Carmona stepping on our boy CJ Baskerville. Did you guys see this happen live?
No, I didn't. And I'll share the video, so in case you haven't seen it, you can look. But he's number 55, and our dear friend CJ Baskerville ends up on the unfortunate end of this. He's lucky he didn't break his ankle here.
So if you're not watching on YouTube, which is where you can find us as well, we would love to have you on YouTube, where you can like this channel, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. You can also see this on Spotify. This is on Twitter. This is number 55 stepping on a laid down CJ Baskerville with his foot pretty much parallel to the ground, and he steps right on his ankle. Clearly, like, play is over, purposely steps on CJ's ankle. Clayton, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is so dirty. It makes me so mad that this happened and that no one saw it, no one caught it. He didn't even get flagged for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say. It just makes me mad. There's really no place for that.
Where's the punishment here? What should this punishment be?
Oh, I wouldn't. People that do things like that on the football field when you're playing a sport and you're now getting paid and you're representing a university, people like that. I don't care if you're representing, Kent State or you're representing the University of Alabama. People like that should never play football again. That's unbelievable. That's dirty. That's classless. That's wrong in every way. And so the fact that I get it. You get heated in a game, you do things, you say things, that all happens, right? That's part of sport. But when you step on someone's ankle like that after a play, granted, I don't know what happened, but there's just no excuse. Like, there's no defense for it. Now, Arkansas people will probably say, well, of course you guys are talking about this. You lost the game. No, I'd be mad about this regardless if it was in a game that I didn't even have any stake in. But to do that, I mean, he should never, if I was a head coach, I'd say, you can leave and find another place to play if any other place will take you, because that's just not how you want to represent the university. Yep. But I digress.
So he issued an apology Sunday. So
he did?
I'll go here.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Here's what CJ tweets.
I didn't either.
Yep. I'm coming to you. Breaking news on the Broadway Shuffle.
Wow.
There's no denying that Arkansas played a great game. This is from CJ. I am not taking that away from them, but number 55, Fernando Carmona, blatantly stepping on my ankle and pressing down on it is straight up dirty. Proceeds to say, got your do better. Okay, so CJ tweets this. Carmona comes out today. You'll be seeing this Monday morning, but on Sunday afternoon, and says, I'd like to apologize for my actions last Friday night in the Liberty Bowl. I let my emotions get away from me. I have nothing but respect for Texas Tech and the game of football. I apologize to my team and coaches. I'm not that kind of player and will learn from this.
Yeah, my first thought on this is, why is he apologizing to his teammates and his coaches and not CJ Baskerville or our team that he stepped on our player's ankle? That's my first reaction to this.
Yeah, also, the film says that you actually are that kind of player, unfortunately. I know guys get caught up in the heat of the moment, but, we had a player last year who did something kind of not similar to this, definitely not this bad. But if y'all remember, I think his name was Jaden York, that tight end that spit on somebody in the BYU game. That guy did not play much the rest of the year and then left the team in the offseason and transferred to another great program, the University of Houston, where I don't think he did much this year. But yeah, that's really bad behavior. I hope he gets disciplined internally. Now, I don't think he should never play football again. Guys make dumb decisions. But yeah, I mean, that should go with him for a long time. That's going to be the reputation that you carry. And that's unfortunate that he gets caught on camera like that for him, but that's part of it. So.
Yeah, and I'll say the statement that he put out. I don't know who wrote that, but it sounds like something ChatGPT would write to me. So I'll just leave that there. I mean, maybe it's a little bit strong to say you should never play again. But if I was a coach, I'd never let that guy set foot on my field again. Represent the university that I coached for. But I'm not coaching, and I'm not making those decisions. That's not what you do. I'm glad he apologized, but the apology really doesn't mean a whole lot because he didn't apologize to the right people, which was CJ Baskerville and Texas Tech, most importantly.
What would a fair punishment be? Do you think that domestic terrorist Greg Sankey will hand down a punishment at all here, Z?
He's actually going to get nominated for an award. He'll probably be Sportsman of the Year for the SEC.
The Walton State's Man of the Year.
Yeah,
there he is.
Yeah,
Fernandino Carbonara for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Yeah, tough deal.
Yeah, it just sucks to see. It sucks to see. Also, the game was out of this. There's 2 minutes left in the game. It's out of reach. There's just no need. I mean, for that thought to come in your mind of I'm going to step on this guy and tell him to do better and call him a female dog.
Bad words.
Just bad. It just is not. It just sucks for the game. I just don't see. I don't see how that's going through your head. It doesn't make sense to me, and I hope Pittman and the SEC will take the necessary action.
Yeah, I mean, don't get your hopes up there.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, CJ, we wish you the best, man. We know that you're a listener of the show. We've had CJ on the show before. He's a friend of the Broadway Shuffle, and we thank him not only just for his overall, maturity in handling the situation and putting the tweet out and, not retaliating, but also handling it maturely, which is no surprise to us, and also just for what he was able to do on the football field this year. So wish CJ the best, and also hope that somehow this pasta carbonara dude gets punished, like he deserves. So, all right, let's shift our attention as we close the show to basketball. We've got conference play starting on the 31st. The University of Central Florida and Gus Malzahn will be coming into the. Sorry, no, not Gus. He's gone. That's
Do
right.
that again. Do that
Wrong
again.
sport. Wrong sport. Central Florida's coming into the USA on the 31st at 1:00. Z, expectations for basketball as Big 12 play gets underway.
Yeah, I'm going to share something real quick. My expectations are still pretty high. You're basically still analytically right where you started the season. You're 13th in KenPom, which is kind of the kind of the Bible when it comes to basketball analytics. So something that I want to point out here. So you're going to start with a relatively easy slate. You're going to play home at UCF. You should win that game. It should be a team similar to DePaul. But then you're going to really get into the games that you need to win. Some of your best Q1 opportunities. And if you're not familiar with that, we're going to start talking about it a lot. But Q1 opportunities are top 75 teams on the road, top 50 teams at a neutral site, or top 25 teams at home. Just given the way the Big 12 has been this year, you're not going to have a ton of Q1 opportunities at home. You're going to need to play really, really well on the road. And that's going to start, right after this UCF game. Now, I don't want to look past them, but you're going to go straight to Utah and then to BYU, both on the road. You're going to do that mountain trip. You're favored by 3 in that first game, and then you're favored by 1 in the next one. So very, very important games for you there. You've got to get something on your resume. I'm going to share another thing real quick that kind of walks you through where our seeding would look like right now. This is a website called Bracketologists. Really, really neat site. So you're 17th in the net right now. This is for as of December 28th, 2024. But if you look at what your resume has on it right now, you've got 4 Q3 wins, 0 Q2 wins, and 1 quad 1 loss. So nothing really standing out here. This would not be a resume that gets into the tournament right now. But the thing that you have going for you, your Bart Torvik index is really high. Your KenPom index is really high. Things that are really kind of working against you right now if you haven't been following basketball. Your wins above bubble right here. This is a metric you should track. The committee is going to be using it a lot this year. And your strength of record. You want to see these in top 20 range. And that's just really not where you are right now. But going back to your team, I think you have a really good team. Your offense is excellent, and you've been crushing people without JT Toppin. You played A&M extremely closely without him, and then you just absolutely put a whooping on two out-of-conference foes, Lamar and I forget who the other team was. Chance McMillan is having an excellent start to the season. He's the second most efficient offensive player in the country right now. He has an O rating in the 150s, which essentially means for every 100 possessions that he's on the floor, he's scoring about 157 points, or the team is generating that much offense. Having an incredible season. Darion Williams is also having a phenomenal season, ranked as a top 10 most valuable player in the country right now, which is unbelievable. You haven't had anybody in that top 10 ranking since Jarrett Culver actually was the most valuable player in the country in 2019. So he's having an excellent season. I think this team can be really good. You're not going to get a lot of national pub if you beat UCF and then beat Utah and BYU, but those would be really, really good games for you to add to your resume and kind of start building a profile for March.
Yeah, because we will be releasing this on a Monday, the game's on a Tuesday. We'll be coming for you, coming back to you for a reaction show on Thursday, but we will not have a preview show. So prediction time, Z, based off that. Are you beating Central Florida at home?
Yeah, when I look at this matchup, the only game that I've watched of UCF was when they beat A&M. This is a team that's not, super effective offensively. They don't really shoot it that well. They shoot 34% from the three. From the 2-point line, they're actually abysmal. They're under 50% at 49.5%. Decent free throw shooting team. But the things that they do have going for them, they're decently old. This is an older team, and they're decently tall. They're going to be significantly taller than you, on average about 2 inches taller. You're 245th in the country when it comes to average height. UCF is 54th in the country. So I don't really love Johnny Dawkins as a coach. He's not my favorite player, but I do think they have some good weapons. Darius Johnson is going to be their point guard. I thought he was really good last year. He hasn't been great this year so far. And then a kid named Jordan Ivy Curry, kind of a gunner from UTSA that they got to transfer in. Not an efficient scorer, but he will chuck it up there. So you got to make sure that you know where he is at all times. I think going to be a really interesting game for JT Toppin if he is back. They have some really long interior defenders. Can he still score with his back to the basket against guys that are 7'2", 6'11", kind of bigger players? That's where I think it's going to be decided. And then can UCF guard the three ball? If they can't guard us from outside the arc, I think you could scorch this team. You're going to have to rebound well. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope you kind of announce yourself to the Big 12. I don't really care what this win looks like. I'd love for it to be a 25-point blowout, but just find a way to get a win, get started 1-0, and then move on to the two really tough games that you'll have coming up.
And so that's you saying we are winning. That's your prediction.
Yeah, I think we'll win. Okay. I'll be surprised if we don't win.
Clayton, expectations, predictions, thoughts?
Yeah, I think we get a win tomorrow too. I hope the Toppin's back. I don't know. Does anyone know if that's a for sure thing that he's coming back?
No, it's not official, but Kellen Buffington, the general manager for Tech, keeps tweeting pictures of him, so I'm assuming it's not some illicit love affair. It's that he's coming back to play basketball for Texas Tech.
It would be kind of weird if he didn't play after that then.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, so we'd be worried about something else, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I still have high hopes for this team. I do think the non-conference schedule and the St. Joe's loss is going to really hurt us in March. Having the Q2 loss and then also taking away the Q1 game with Texas, that really sucks. But yeah, I've been impressed with what they've been able to do without Toppin. There's that chart. I don't know if any of y'all have seen it on Twitter, but it charts the offensive and defensive efficiencies, and the national championship usually comes from the top right corner. And right now we're just below the cluster of teams that are the elite teams. So I still have pretty high expectations for us. I do agree with you. I want to see us get off to at least a 2-0 start. That BYU game is going to be tough, but we did get a slight break that we'll already have a game in the mountains under our belt. So it's not like the altitude should affect us too bad on the second game. But yeah, I think we should beat UCF, and then, hopefully it's a good sign for the rest of the conference.
Yeah, I've loved that you found offensive identity without Toppin. I felt like initially it felt like your offense just really wasn't flowing, and part of that is you're playing pretty bad teams. So, if you scrimmage against a 5-year-old, you're going to be like, wow, that guy's so great. So I do want to see and make sure that our offensive flow is still there. I was a little disappointed in what we were running out of our sets against A&M. I felt like, and to A&M's credit, they're a good defensive team, but I think you've kind of found something. Chance is just having a really excellent season, and Darion's doing a lot, but I want to see it against, let's see it against some real teams. And yeah, we play at elevation, which is the other thing that may help us on the mountain trip. It's not BYU or Utah elevation, but it's not going to be a team like Houston that's basically at sea level or something like that. So maybe a slight advantage. Those mountain trips are tough. They wear you out. So if I could take 1-1 on that mountain trip right now, I probably would sign up for it, but hoping for 2-0 down there.
Kool-Aid Man Factory humming for basketball season.
Yeah, we've added on an addition for the basketball season, and it's things, for basketball, it's different than football. You probably have maybe I don't know what the interest level would be. Maybe you have more interest in football just because it's football. We're in Texas, but Red Raider Nation does care a lot about basketball. Obviously, seeing what we've experienced over the past 5 years, so we've built an addition to the Kool-Aid Factory to produce enough Kool-Aid for basketball season. The Kool-Aid is humming. It's being produced at a high level. It's being purchased at a high level too. So you're going to see a lot of it at the USA on Tuesday afternoon, and I think we get the win as well. Just looking kind of big picture at this basketball team too. I mean, your 2 losses, number one to St. Joe's. I can't remember that guy's name who shot. I don't know it was probably, what was it, over 50% from 3 that game?
Yeah, dude, Reynolds. They shot 64% from the 3.
They shot. Yeah, I mean, I don't care who you are. You're not winning if somebody shoots that well against you, and they got to make the shots to credit to them. You lose that game. Now Toppin did play that game, and then you barely lost to A&M without Toppin, with which we all know with Toppin you beat A&M for sure. So you look at those 2 games. Yes, it stings that on paper you didn't win because, like Zyler and Clayton mentioned, they do hurt our resume, but as a whole, this team still has everything in front of them. The first goal for Grant and the crew, I would assume, would be, or Coach McCaslin, so just so I don't get corrected by anybody, it would be a Big 12 title. And so that's something that you still have theoretically in front of you. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's still there. You haven't played a Big 12 game yet. You're still undefeated in conference, and so still hopeful you can make some noise there and see what happens. I'm going to predict us to win by double digits on Tuesday, and then we'll go from there and take it one game at a time. Brennan, do you have any predictions for this basketball team, assuming all goes well and JT's back, rebounded and dunking for you on Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, this is a game you need to win. I know it's you get 20 conference games. It's a beast of a schedule now. It's not the 18 like it was. You get 2 additional conference games. You're at home, 1:00, New Year's Eve. If you lose this game, you're going to have to make it up somewhere, whether that's on the road, a game or 2. And you don't want to have to play catch up in this conference. It's too deep. And so I think it's a really important game just to get off to a 1-0 start in conference and take care of home court, which is what you'll need to do. And I think we're going to do that. I hope Toppin plays. But honestly, even though Toppin is such a huge piece to what you do, with how Zyler mentioned how good Darion and Chance have been, I think that they can carry offensively. One thing I do want to see is Christian Anderson has shown flashes. Elijah Hawkins has not been necessarily who we thought we were getting from Minnesota yet. I would want to see the guard play be able to carry you a little more from that point guard position. You're a little thin there if those guys aren't playing well, but Anderson's been a huge bright spot for you up to this point as a true freshman. So how does he handle Big 12 play? More physical teams, taller teams, bigger teams, and because you're playing Iowa State, they're top 5, Kansas's, Baylor's, Houston's, etc. Those teams are going to be physical, and you're going to need good guard play to beat them, and you need Hawkins and Anderson to step up. And so that's one thing I'm most intrigued about, being a 5'6", 5'7.5", 5'10" in the senior yearbook guard myself. I think that I always look out for the little point guards, and so that's one thing that I'm most excited to see in the Big 12 play, is how those guys are able to contribute, because you need Toppin, you need Darion, you need Chance, but you really don't go deep without good guard play. So that'll be huge into Big 12. But I think we get the win on Tuesday afternoon, and then we will be back on Thursday to discuss it and look forward to the games ahead as well. So
Brennan, just a quick question, just so that because I know Coach McCaslin listens to the show and is really enjoying our basketball content so far. Can he call on you if he needs you to come fill in for a couple games?
Dude,
are you ready for that?
Dude, I was shooting hoops at the gym I belong to a couple days ago, and I pulled up from 27 feet and I hit the rim. So it's still there. It's still there. I have taken a half-court shot at the USA. It was the Kansas game, I think, 4 years ago. I got called on by a friend of mine who worked for Texas Tech Athletics at the time, sweet girl, and I airballed it. So I'm not great. I'm 0 for 1 shooting in qualified shots in the USA, so he might want to call on someone else. But Clayton's corner three, dude, our team, our intramural team, Net on Your Face, was they were pretty good. we were averaging like 84 a game with a 40-minute running clock. So Grant can call on us if he does need some timely threes. We tend to deliver, but I'd have to get a little loose. Yeah.
Y'all got to get it back up to the rack. We got to make this a Matthew Temple situation where
he's
just
dude.
Walking by and sees you guys.
Man, I was there. When I was in Lubbock for work a couple weeks ago, I went to the rec, on a Tuesday night. No one was up there. I think it was winter break, and I saw those 4 courts. Man, I just was reminiscing on days that I was just cooking kids. So maybe we can get an alumni team up there for next time we're all in Lubbock or something.
Broadway Shuffle team.
A Broadway Shuffle team, yeah. So, all right, well, let's enough of that. Let's get to the end of our show where it's a Tommy Tuberville of the Week, sponsored by Ocelot Capital Group, real estate investment company out in Lubbock. Our Tommy Tuberville of the Week is a fraud of the week. Could be in any sport, really anywhere in the world. If we think that you are worthy of being called out, we will call you out. And we've got a special Tommy Tuberville of the Week this week in regards to what has happened. But Clayton, I'll let you go first. We'll go down the line. But who is your Tommy Tuberville of the Week?
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty short. We've already mentioned him on the show, but my Tommy Tuberville of the Week is Mr. Carbonara Pasta, as you called him earlier. The Arkansas offensive lineman stepping on CJ's ankle. That's just not cool. Even a worse apology than his action. So that is my Tommy Tuberville of the Week, although I do want to give a shout out to OU football. They came in a close second for me this week. They've only won 2 bowl games since Bob Stoops retired, and Bob Stoops coached in one of them. So
that's
congrats
crazy.
I didn't know
that is wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
Did you see their defensive coordinator?
Riley. Yeah, lots of Lincoln Riley losses there.
They
Lincoln
hired a
Riley
new defensive coordinator, and he left them to go to West Virginia.
Oh, wait, he was newly hired?
Yeah, I'm almost positive. Let me fact check myself, but yeah, I'm almost positive he left OU to go be the West Virginia defensive coordinator. Let me look. Okay, from the Oklahoma.
OU and Arkansas have a lot in common now in the SEC. Both at the bottom.
No. Okay.
Both at the bottom, yeah.
No. He'd been there a year. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
okay.
So maybe that's a kind of we're happy you're leaving.
Yeah,
so interesting.
Well, Z, why don't you go ahead and go on who your Tommy Tuberville of the Week is?
Yeah, my TT of the week is going to be Bernardino Carbonara, the offensive tackle for Arkansas. He is my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Okay, all right. I see a trend here. Conrad, who is your Tommy Tuberville of the week?
It's an easy choice for me this week, Mr. Carmona. Right now, offensive lineman for the University of Arkansas. Hopefully, he may be an offensive lineman for whatever the school is that's Last Chance U. That may be where he ends up. So, Mr. Carmona, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week. Eastern Mississippi Community College. Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Yeah, he'll be there.
Okay, you heard it here first. Carmona, offensive lineman for Eastern Mississippi Community College on the Broadway Shuffle.
Oh man, I've had carbonara all over the world. I've had it in Italy, I've had it in Spain, Portugal, Lubbock, and Dallas, and I've got to say, this, you love how I start there, just slowly bring my way back.
No, you went up. You went up.
You're right. You're right.
For its Italian
yeah, Lubbock. Yeah, it's hard to beat Orlando's carbonara. But this one looks pretty gross. I gotta say, it had to be the grossest carbonara I've seen. And the fact that his first name's Fernando doesn't help either. So Tommy Tuberville of the Week across the board for the Broadway Shuffle is Fernando Carmona, I think is how you actually say his name. What a bum. There's just really no way to tell him, call it like it is, other than that kid's a bum, and he needs to figure out something and enjoy his time at Last Chance U, hopefully, and we will hopefully never see him on a football field again. So, man, first unanimous Tommy Tuberville of the Week for our show across the board. And there will be no trivia. We will have a trivia for you on Thursday's show. But man, tough loss. We're looking forward to basketball. We got a lot of content coming up for you guys as well. We have some more interviews, basketball in full swing. So we'll be transitioning most of our content into basketball, but this is your one-stop shop for interviews. We'll get into some baseball. We might even have some softball stuff for you in the potential interview there coming up soon. So be on the lookout. Only way to do that is to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Spotify and Apple. And you can also follow us on our social medias accounts at the Broadway Shuffle. So for Clayton, Zyler, Conrad, I am Brennan. We will see you Red Raiders next time around on the Broadway Shuffle. Happy New Year, and we will be looking back to 2024 and looking ahead to 2025 on our next show as well. So without further ado, from the Broadway Shuffle, we'll see you guys next time. Be safe on New Year's, man. Make sure you get home safe, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Wreck 'em.